look what I found. This is a Holzfforma g395xp in blue, and it is their new release, and it's patterned after a Holzfforma 395, which is a little older style design, and I guess it has its roots back in the 80s and 90s, I suppose, if you want to look at the way the anti-vibe is on these things. And it's a big saw, so I just want to put it together, give you guys a picture of it so you can see it. And it's got the old flag style chain brake, where the chain brake is in the side cover like the old 200 series saws did. And it looks like it's a die cast type of a cover, or at least a cast. It's metal. Has an external clutch, internal sprocket, again like the older Husqvarnas did, but also some of the 5 series, the 562 does as well. And of course I'm a fan of the internal clutch, external sprocket, but really they have enough space behind here where this is not really a problem. And it's a proven design. Notice where the 85 is. You got one here vertical handle, and then in the back you have 2 springs, one here on each side, one here and one here. So it's got 4 springs. Again, it's a pattern after the 395, and that's kind of an 80s design, as I said before. And what I want to do today is just kind of look it over, and as it is, as it was delivered, fire it up and see whether or not it runs and how much tuning I have to do, you know. And then we'll do what we did with the G288. Look at the size of that filter. Big old filter on there. The cylinder actually looks pretty nice from inside here. And the plug wire has a nice little notch to keep it from running into the cylinder like happened on a lot of 372s. My first impression about look and feel is it has a nice fit and finish about it. It actually does look pretty nice. But you know something, that's not a surprise, because the G288 that I got earlier this year, that you've seen on the channel quite a bit, that actually was pretty nice as well. So they've definitely upped their game, and we're going to find out whether or not this one is in as delivered form is a useful saw, and I suspect it probably is. I'm going to have to do it quickly because rain's coming in. So I'll get a bar and chain on it, and what I'm going to use for my bar and chain is my last new Oregon VersaCut, where it has a steel plate, aluminum plate, steel plate sandwich. And I like these things. I have for quite some time. If I sound positive, it's because I'm a little bit excited about this saw. Now, if you remember or watch the channel, when I first got the G288, I struggled a little bit because of the bar oiling system didn't work well. But I have to say, and I've said it in a couple of videos, that once I replaced the oil pump and I got the saw to break in, it took, oh my God, it probably took 3 tanks to break it in, 4 tanks. But once I did that, it turned into an easy to tune saw. It responded very well to the carburetor adjustment screws, oiled well with a different pump, and has been a solid performer now for a couple of months. So I would consider the G288 a success. I don't think anybody else that I know of had oiling problems. I think I was unique. That was a sample of one. So the reason I say that is, as far as the Farmertech series of saws, you know, the Holzfforma brand name, this saw has a fairly tough act to follow in the 288 because I like that saw. The only detractions I had on the 288 were it's heavy, like all 288s are, both OEM and that one as well, and it vibrates. I mean, but it vibrates like a big saw. So I'm a little bit curious to see whether or not Damn, I don't know what that is. That's a dump truck dumping material at my neighbor's. I'm a little bit curious to see whether or not this one here runs as well, has all the bits and pieces working, everything from the choke to the chain oiler, and can I put it right to work? And that would be nice. I mean, that would be nice to me. Now, another sign that this is of the older design is, again, like this series of Husqvarna, this is really derived when the 200 series were being built, is the chain adjustment screw is on the front of the case instead of in the cover. So the 395 is really a holdover from the 200 series in terms of the way that the design is. And I guess that's the point. Made it a couple of times. 200 series Husqvarnas were great. The true 300 series, like the 372s, 390s, and stuff like that, were a lot easier to live with because of things like the external sprocket, internal clutch. But they also ran better because they had a different design cylinder. They had a quad port cylinder, and there was quite a few upgrades on the ergonomics. The anti-vibration, just the layout of the saw was another generation ahead of the 200 series, and living with it reflected that. It was that much, and living with those saws reflected that. The 300 series, like 372, was a much easier saw to live with than the 272, even though they performed in a similar space. They did similar things. I think a 372 is still one of the gold standards of chainsaw design, my humble opinion. And there's an awful lot of people who would agree with me, I think. But the 395, the layout really isn't the same as the true 300s, like the 372, 385, 390 series. It's much more akin to the older ones. Well, I hope this is not an omen, but it started to freaking rain. So the first start on this 395 is going to be in the rain. Well, the first impression is it's running a little bit fat. So I'm going to take a little bit of fuel out of it and take a little more out of it. Well, that's not bad for its first cut. It's still a little bit fat on top. But when you put the pressure on it, it cuts hard. It's a big, strong saw. And I know it's not broke in, so we really don't know where it will be. No sense in trying to do a comparison, you know, like with a 288 or one of the other saws, until it actually gets broke in. Now I wedged it hard, was able to stall it, but I suspect it'll change as it breaks in. As far as vibration's concerned, it actually vibrates less than the 288 does, so that's a positive. It's got a funny vibration when you pull up on the bar. It's like the mounts get to the end of the travel and you get a little bit of vibration that way. But as it sits, you can tell it's not jumping around. So it's an improvement over the 288 from a vibration standpoint. How's that? And it idles. So what I'll do is I'll do a little more cutting. I'll shut it off and see if I can start it in one pull after a little bit of cut time. Well, it's still idling, so that's a good sign. Let's see if it'll start first pull. One thing I can say is it's got good power. It oils, and it really responds well to a little bit of tuning. It vibrates a lot less than the 288. This is a lot easier saw to hang on to, I think, even though it might have more power. This is not a bad rig right here. I'm kind of curious to see what it weighs. But my first impression on this one is this one's got a lot of potential. Now, I like the 288, and I think I like this one more initially. But we're going to have to run them side by side for a little while. But the first impression I have of this is it seems like it's pretty well put together.